Up next on the Marmy Rock Show, I'm glad to have back on the show Killian, who is Killian McGuire, the vocalist of Charming Liars out of the UK. And I'm very glad to have you back on the show. They got all kinds of cool stuff going on. Killian, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me, Rocky. Appreciate it, man.
Now, I mentioned I had you on the show once before, but people may not know. Give me a little bit of the history of the band for folks that may not know you. Are you one of those bands that's been around a while, or did you kind of form out of the nexus of other projects?
You know, it's the band itself has probably been around since I think 2015, somewhere around there. But around that time there were different members, and I myself was kind of in a different band, and then when I met up with Mike and Carnig, it was kind of perfect timing because we were all kind of looking to kind of move in a different musical direction. So when I kind of linked up with those guys, I mean, the band kind of changed gears, if you will, and we've been, that started with the first EP with me on it was Delete Repeat. So it kind of, the name's been thrown around for a little while, but as of recently, yeah, it's just been kind of something new, you know.
So you guys are out on a big tour right now. It looks like you have one of the long drive days ahead of you tomorrow, possibly. Tell us, folks, about the tour you're out on right now.
Yeah, this has been a really cool experience. It's been our first headline, kind of tour up and down the coast, and it's been really fun. We've had we have a really cool band on the road with us called Ivy Wood, and that's been really fun getting to know those guys and hearing their set every night. But it's been well received. I mean, the shows are going really well, and it's nice to have kind of a longer set, and to be able to play some songs that we usually don't play. But everything's going fantastic, and the weather's been kind to us, so that's good. We're up here in Tacoma right now, Tacoma, Washington. So, living in LA, it's in the triple digits until at least September, but right now it's like 70 degrees out, so it's fantastic.
Now, you guys got some dates coming up in Europe with a very cool band called The Fame, and I was wondering, is your band currently, are you guys bigger in the UK or bigger in the US right now?
That's a good question. I think it kind of goes back and forth, kind of like a seesaw, but as of lately, we did about 8 weeks in Europe, I think about 2 months ago. So Europe and the UK, we really did cultivate kind of a lot of fans over there. So I think right now we might be teetering on being just a little bit bigger in Europe, but just by a hair, yeah.
So, hey, you guys got something cool out there now called the Bare Bones EP, an acoustic release. So, curious, did you have to adapt the tunes to acoustic, or were they written that way?
Some of the songs are kind of written kind of bare bone like that, where we'll just kind of write it acoustically and then add all the production afterwards. But there are songs that Carnig has laid out the structure for the songs and already done all the production before I kind of even come in to finalize lyrics and things like that. We'll have vocal melodies, but nothing final. But it kind of, half the songs were we kind of worked backwards and stripped them down, and then the other ones they were already kind of laid out that way. So it was kind of about 50-50. It was a fun EP to do as well, because I remember I forgot who said it, but I was when I was younger, I used to watch all of these rock documentaries, and I heard somebody say, it's not a great song unless you can strip it down to its acoustic form, and then you can tell if it's a great song. Because a lot of times, sometimes you'll have a song that's just overproduced like crazy, and you kind of get caught up in all of the production, and you don't really realize it's not really much of a song,
Yeah. Now, hey, your guys, have you thought about doing a live acoustic performance? Maybe you already do it. Did you ever do any of live shows acoustically?
Yeah, when we did our album release earlier this year, we did that kind of unique thing where we started the set with about 3 acoustic songs. I think we did like Something Dark and Like a Drug, and then we just did the full set. So it's definitely something that we have kind of up our sleeves and we enjoy doing. Actually, it's actually kind of a fun experience to do an acoustic set, and you can kind of really dig into the songs a little deeper and it's just a little less pressure because you're kind of just going with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So your music videos are so well done, and when I go back and look at Like a Drug, Insomnia, and those they seem to be telling a story in sequence. Can you give people kind of an idea where the inspiration for that storyline came from?
Yeah, those songs, or the songs that we picked, were kind of, they kind of had that common theme and of kind of that darkness and that grittiness, and around that time we were discussing music video concepts and things like that. And one thing that was for sure is we didn't really want to do just a performance video. We kind of wanted to do something just a little more different, and so we teamed up with a really amazing director by the name of Phil Lopez, and he really helped us kind of just bring that vision to life. And we just kind of threw a bunch of ideas and kind of saw what stuck, and we're really proud of it. We spent about, how long was it? Maybe about a week out in New Orleans, and we were there and we watched them make the video, and it was really cool being on the other side of it. I kind of felt like a fly on the wall, just kind of observing everything.
Now, I'm guessing you're considerably younger than I. However, when I listen to your music, I sometimes kind of fantasize what would it be like to take you guys, drop you in a time machine to 1984 on MTV with your style. I can only wonder what would have happened. Like, where are your musical roots? Because I feel so much of that, like that great genre that was the MTV era in your music.
It's funny you said that. I mean, growing up, I didn't really watch my own MTV. I spent a lot of time watching like reruns of we don't sound like this, but like old Headbangers Ball and Metal Mania and all of these classic kind of rock bands and harder bands. But also for me personally, I mean, I grew up. Some of my favorite artists as a kid were guys like Jackson Browne, who, in my opinion, really set the bar for just lyrical perfection. I mean, the guy is a poet. So whenever I'm writing lyrics, sometimes I'll be like, is this too, not to say I try and complicate my words, but sometimes I'll just try and make sure that it's up to standard. But other artists that kind of inspired me are guys like Depeche Mode, and I think you can hear a little bit of that in our music. But for the other guys, it kind of varies. Mike's a big fan of the Police. Carnegie really loves anything that was written before 2000. So we kind of have a little bit of everything.
Now because of your style, you can play with kind of a diverse lineup when you guys tour. And you're in that like land between the harder stuff and the pop. Do you find more fans coming over from pop towards the rock side, or the harder rock towards the pop side of what you guys are?
Yeah, that one's kind of 50-50 too, because we've done tours with bands that are a little harder, like I think last summer we went on tour with Dorothy, and she has like a very classic hard rock fan base,
Yeah.
And we were like kind of wondering, like, because we can play just as hard as anybody, but we were wondering, like, how are these people gonna kind of like digest our music? Is it gonna be kind of too weird for them? And it was a really pleasant experience, because after the shows, people would come up to us and be like, wow, that I've never heard anything like that before. This is Insomnia is so cool, and so stuff like that. And then we've also toured with acts that kind of are a little more pop oriented. Like we did a tour with Black Audio, which is Davey Havoc's other band with the other guitar player, and it was kind of the reverse effect where it was like, I mean, these were fans of bands like AFI, so I think that they were able to digest us really easy and kind of pinpoint that they liked us. But yeah, man, it's kind of like, 50-50. But I've always been under the belief that if they're good tunes, they're good tunes. So regardless of the genre, hopefully they'll like it.
It works for you guys for sure. Now, I'm always curious, as a vocalist that tours as much as you do, what are your tips for keeping your voice sharp, and what do you do on those nights when you got a cold or you don't feel it? How do you get through a show?
Well, for me, I mean, when I first started singing when I was like maybe 14, I took it very seriously then, and I was always taking lessons and always warming up before I played. And I think as a singer, you kind of have a different responsibility before you play to obviously warm up and to get your vocal cords kind of where they need to be, because before I play, I usually go into the van and I'll warm up for about an hour, which is kind of a bummer because the hour before you play is always kind of the most exciting.
Yeah.
You get to hang with the band and shoot the crap and all that stuff, but we really didn't get to, I kind of missed out on that a little bit, but it's just that discipline, and just making sure that I warm up, every night, it's just being patient too, because your vocal cords are a muscle, and they do get a little fatigued.
Is there any tips for when you're sick? Like, I mean, you're going to get sick, right? It's going to happen. You're touring every night. Like, do you have to, is there a way to, I don't want to use the word cheat, like, how do you get by on stage? Because the show goes on, right?
Yeah, I think one of the main things is, I mean, the funny thing is if you have a cold or anything like that, you can sing through it because it doesn't affect the vocal cords too much, but it does feel, some nights are a little easier than others. So I actually have like a little vocal care Pelican that has like a steam mask in it. That's a really big thing to really help me kind of make it through. And then I've also got like throat coat teas and things like that. There's different things for different people, but for me, it's never really drinking before the show and just making sure I warm up.
So, hey, one last thing before I let you go. If I was to go back to the Flesh and Bones record, is there any one particular song that you would say is the most personal to you on that record?
I'd probably say if I had to pick one that was the most personal to me, it'd probably be Novocaine. I'm going to take that back. I'm going to say it's Soul. And the reason is because when I wrote that song, I actually wrote it as it was happening, which was a really cool experience. I had gotten home from the studio and everybody else was asleep in the house, and I was sitting there at my kitchen table, and I looked up at the clock, and it literally said 12:31, and from there, I just kind of wrote kind of everything I was feeling. I had a pile of bills on the table, so that song's kind of like a time capsule for me. I can listen to that song and it takes me back to kind of those early struggles and kind of those, trying to gain momentum and trying to write those songs that I felt confident in, because by that, when I wrote that song, it was kind of, I think I had been in the band for maybe only about a year and a half, so I was still trying to figure out what my songwriting was going to be like in the band,
Yeah. Well, hey, man, Killian McGuire from Charming Liars, they're out right now on the big tour all over. They're mostly on the West Coast right now. They've been all over the country, though. And check out Something Dark, their latest single out, and the tour. Killian, man, thanks so much for being back on the show. We really appreciate it.
Of course, Rocky. I'd love to do it again very soon, man.